while I'm on a high note about the music, I just love this band, and I know a lot of you don't know who I am. But yeah, my name is Randy Goble. I come from a large family, 9 brothers and sisters, and that's them. And I'm the one with the bolo-looking tie thing, or whatever you call it. That's me. I was 12 years old then. But when I first heard this band, I came to the SIDS thing, and I was in Lewis Street's soul band. I was the bass player, and I wanted to be in the band. I was like, wow, I love these guys. But there was no room for me yet. But the Lord knew. I was leaving a band, a church band, and I was like, I need somewhere to go, Lord. Where can I go? And after that concert, I don't think Ron knew I was a bass player. Well, I'm a guitar player too. But I noticed there was an empty spot up here for the first 2 weeks I came to church here. And I asked him if I could play guitar. And he said, well, it's Mark's position, but he's sick, but you can fill in for him. I said, that'd be great. So I came up here, and then we did the SIDS concert, and then he found out I could play bass. He goes, you want to be in the band? I said, yeah. He said, you're the new bass player. He says, I'm going to go back to guitar. I'm like, awesome. So, I can't ask for anything better in this whole town than play with these great musicians here. This is like the highlight of my life, to play for the Lord and play with awesome musicians. And it started out with my mom. She was born in Lindsborg, and they lived out on a farm. And my grandpa was a banjo player, but he was an alcoholic. And every Saturday night he would go in town and play, and then he would bring the whole band out to the house. And 2 o'clock in the morning, and then my mom and her sisters would have to get up, come downstairs and sing. So, and my grandpa, when he got to drinking, he got real mean, and he would start shooting the windows out of the house, and he did a lot of things like that. Shot my grandma one time in the foot, and he had to go to prison for a year. And my mom would tell me the stories of how she had to go out in the field and sleep all night until he sobered up. Then one day, my grandma got a call that my grandpa had gotten a wreck and got killed. And so my mom and her sisters and her brother, they lived out on the farm all by themselves with no car. They didn't know how to drive. So people from the church in Lindsborg come out and pick them up, take them to church. And my mom got saved through that. My grandma, all my aunts, and my uncle. And my mom met my dad out here at Schilling Air Force Base, and they started dating, and they got married. They had 3 children, myself, my older brother, and my sister Debbie. I don't know if everybody knows that's my sister, I hope, that sings up here. And we moved to Indiana, up by Lake Michigan, about a half a mile from the lake. And they had more children. When I turned 6 years old, the church I was going to, they had a great youth department, and they sent us all up to Chicago to sing on the Aunt Bee show. It was a radio show, so that was my first taste of singing, getting in front of people and playing and doing that kind of stuff. And when I was 7 years old, my dad took me to a men's fellowship meeting, and I got saved and asked Christ to take over my life. Just had a great childhood at that point, and later on, we moved in town to kind of a country home. Across the street was fields and things, but we were kind of in town. But that was our playground. That's where we played all the time, and it was a great life. One day, I heard a commotion back in the back bedroom, and it was my dad and my mom and my aunt and my uncle. They were fighting and arguing, and what happened is my dad was running around on my mom. And we didn't know it, but Satan got in, and my dad left and never came back. I waited as a young kid, I wanted to be just like my dad. He was a mechanic, knew how to fix everything. And I wanted to be just like him. But he never did come back. And one day my mom said, I come down the hallway, and she said, I seen you in the kitchen. And she said, you were over there by the stove. And she said, I literally seen God put his hand on you. because he knew I was going to need you. And I said, she never did tell me that until later on in life, but Mom's was my greatest hero, and I watched her tears would flow down her face when she didn't have no money, no way to feed us. She had no car, nothing. For us to go to church, we had to get rides from other people. But my mom was so faithful. We were there Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday. And she never quit. She was one of those women that went into the closet and prayed. And when Mom was in the closet, you didn't go in there. You didn't go bother her. She was getting a hold of the Lord. And my aunt and uncle bought her a car out here, and they took it all the way to Indiana. It was a 56 Buick station wagon. I'll never forget it. But it was something that we needed. And I went to high school, and I learned how to fix the sink, mow the lawn. I think that's when the Lord gave me all my gifts. And I became a real maintenance type of guy. I could do anything, and I always wanted to be a mechanic. But in 1971, I came out here to go to Salineville Tech, and my mom was still back in Indiana, and I didn't really have the money to go, and so I started running through the bars. That's where all my friends were. That's where I started going, and did all the things you do. But I met this girl, and she was dating a guy, and I'd always been praying for a wife. My mom taught me to pray as a young kid for a wife. And we've been married 46 years in 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, she's been the highlight of my life. And, but we got married, had a couple of kids, and later in life I became a mechanic and at an independent garage and did that for a few years. And then I went to a dealership. And the GM dealer came up and he said, we're going to send you to college for free. And I went for 4 years, free college, got my SE certifications, and then they came out and said, we want you to be our Jeep tech, so we're going to send you back to college. So I went for another 2 years to college. So I got free college, and that was just because the Lord gave that to me, And I have 2 wonderful kids and 5 great grandkids, and son-in-laws, great, daughter-in-laws, and the Lord has blessed my life and made me a musician through serving him. We had a family band. We traveled around for 7 or 8 years and made albums and did the Gaithers and Cathedrals and Gold City, all their style of music. And the Lord really blessed that. And I'm going to be 66 in 2 months, and I don't know where the Lord's going to lead me. And I keep asking him, what's next for me in my life? And he says, just have faith and trust me. So that's what I do.